Hey guys, it's Matt. I know this is the worst graphic of all time. People like Denise in Australia look at this and can't believe anybody could draw this poorly. You don't need to see this. This is really a guide for me. If you're looking at a phone, just in general, I'll tell you what's on the right, what's on the left. You don't need to see anything here. And you know, if I've said many times that reality, understanding reality, your purpose in this avatar, in this life is it's like a half a page. What the reality through its minions is trying to do to you is like a half a page. I've said that many, many times, and this will demonstrate my opinion of what it is. It is a half page. It is that simple. What's not simple is it takes a lifetime or so to see it. You have to go through the bog. You have to expose yourself to the trick and then see through the trick so many times because it is so unfathomable how everything works here. It is really beyond belief. So you have to put in the 5 or 10 years, sometimes minimum, to do the screen exercises to the point where you say, I've had enough, I've seen enough. I don't play this anymore. If if I just take somebody out back behind the woodshed and I show them this, they're not gonna think I'm a madman. Run away. You'll identify with this if you see and you've been through the bog, through all this truth or nonsense, of which I used to say 80% is a distraction, compromised, or not most people not compromised, just doing exactly what the screen would want under a similar download to your normie friends. It's over 90%, I would say now. So, in my opinion, this is how reality works. To me, it is this simple. Once you have read the Matrix Code long enough, you just say, okay, this is ridiculous how simple this is, but everybody falls for it because the nature of the trick is so brilliant, so evil genius, and so sophisticated. All right, if you can't see it, you don't need to see it. On the right, I've drawn a stick figure. It's the Vitruvian Man. All right, that's the Vitruvian. Yeah, my drawing is that bad. The Vitruvian Man, it just is a representation of all you are here. The material existence, a body, an avatar, an ego, seeking pleasures, everything about your existence here. I just, is that really what the Vitruvian Man represents? Maybe I don't know, but perhaps. Well, hopefully I'll remember to talk about a few things there. It just represents you here, okay, and mostly what the screen, and on behalf of the reality, wants you believing that's all you are. So in the middle there, again, you can't see it, you don't need to. In the middle of the diagram is your brain. Your brain. This is your brain on truther videos. This is your brain on drugs. It's your brain here. The brain is a receiving dish. It's a receiving dish. Is science still dumb enough to be talking about it as a generator of consciousness? I mean, absurd, absolutely absurd. A generator of consciousness. No, it gets signals. It allows. It's an interface of some kind that allows your true consciousness or partial, maybe an aspect of you that's not here, to engage in the Sims game through the brain. It allows you to navigate this world. So we'll disagree on exactly how this works. That part doesn't really matter. Even if you think consciousness derives from the brain, that doesn't ruin this video. It's just my opinion. So in the middle, you have a brain. And what does the brain do here with the senses? Well, it can only take in the reality around it, presented by the reality screen. Okay, that's everything the senses can take in. That's a big screen, a big box, big monolith in front of the brain here with arrows pointing. That's the direction the brain is focused on the screen. Now, in this case, the screen is everything in the reality, even nature, forests, birds, trees. But there's an unnatural element here. The reality is the box up top. There's an unnatural element here I call the screen that positions itself between reality and your interface here, your brain. I call it the screen. So, like the circle in the middle is the brain, the box up top says reality, and the bigger box between your brain and your consciousness interface here in this plane of existence, whatever it is, the screen positions itself between your brain and the box that says reality. And it will always want to be to get your attention. I mean, it always wants your attention. It wants to be the filter. The arrows it wants the arrows to go through it. It wants to deliver reality. So then it can the arrow off to the right. So then it can feed back what is important, what you as soul or spiritual consciousness should believe is important. It feeds what is important to the Vitruvian man on the right, which feeds back to the brain. And it's a loop. There's arrows going from the screen to the right, which is the Vitruvian man stick figure, highly sophisticated graphic. And then there's arrows back to the brain, a loop that strengthens itself over time, that feeds on itself. It feeds the side of you that feeds it, that feeds the reality here that it wants, that feeds the material plane, the ego. All right, now, at the same time, off to the left, that thing with the lines coming out, it's not the spiked ball. It's my representation of the spiritual self. It's like a light glowing out. There's the spiritual aspect of you, or of real people here. We're not going to get into an NPC conversation right now. The screen extends a hand. I know it's bad. The screen extends a hand and it like blocks. It's like a shield there. It tries to block you, or the brain in the middle, from seeing that aspect of you. All right? At the very minimum, this reality or this life should be about a balance between that entity on the left, which is a part of you, the spiritual self, and what you are here in this body, the Vitruvian man. The screen is the manipulated part of reality. Of course, a Christian would call it Satan. We've talked about minions presenting the screen, minions just getting in your face, Lady Gaga, politicians, George Bush, creating crises and controversy and wars, and it's always, look over here. Again, remember, it's the Jeff Goldblum with his, you're the Tyrannosaurus Rex, it's Jeff Goldblum with his flares. Look over here. Look at me. And everybody, and it's been, how successful has it been? So everybody interprets reality, who they are, what they're meant to be, all that's important, what the definition of success is, everything about this life is given to people because they're focused through the screen, which is positioned itself between true reality and it's positioned between your brain, your consciousness, and reality itself. And it's meant just to feed the material side of you, the Vitruvian man. It's meant to create Jacob Marley chains, to get you into a certain belief set that all that matters is things in this world. Everything's physical. It just completely cuts off the spiritual side. And there's no rhyme or reason. Oh, come on. I hope Zara didn't just step on my keyboard here. Hold on, guys. Let me make sure this is still working. Okay, we're good. I was going to say there's no rhyme or reason that I drew spiritual self on the left, or Vitruvian man, the representation of this physical plane, on the right. I don't play those games, guys. I would never put some sort of code or symbolism. If I think something or know something, I'm just going to tell you. I did jot something down middle left because I didn't want to forget it. It just kind of came to me why I was doing this. And why are do you see the covering of the right eye in, it was like 1,000 images of celebrities and Jay-Z and you can almost search out every celebrity and there's a picture of I would say almost everyone covering the right eye if you looked hard enough. And what's that all about? I still don't, I know, like Pink Elephant would say, pillars, the right eye, the sun, the moon. I don't understand that stuff. But it still amazes me why reality keeps presenting the covering of the right eye. And something came to me, and I have no idea the basis of which this could be correct. But I thought, well, what happens what happens when you block the right eye? Doesn't the right eye take information about the reality and feed it to the left brain? Maybe it's some sort of symbol that life itself should be about not feeding the left brain. The left brain would be more like potentially the analytical side of the brain that identifies more with the things here in this world, like money and finances and the stock market and getting a good job. And if you block that, then you're kind of cutting off the left side of the brain, and you're fostering the right side of the brain, which I think is involved with creativity, imagination, and potentially the things that we need to get out of here. So is that potentially why there's all this, how they have to show you the answer, they have to show you the way out, why there's all this covering of the right eye and all of this stuff. And one more note on that, guys, it's in thousands or tens of thousands of places if you train yourself to see it. Of course, if you search Bono covering one eye, well, there's a picture of him with a giant hand plastered over the eye. That's pretty easy to see. But me watching The Green Mile not too long ago, and this stuff you'd never, not maybe you guys catch it, but nobody would catch it in the normie world. And most of us aren't set up mentally or from acuity to catch everything. John Coffey, it comes to heal. He's the administrator of the hospital. The wife, she has schizophrenia, I guess, or a tumor of some kind. It's causing her to have some sort of schizophrenia. He comes to the house to heal her. He goes up the steps by himself, and I believe he peers into her bedroom, and it's just right there, the door covering, I believe, the right eye. That's all on purpose, especially in The Green Mile, and something, again, very hard to catch. But that sort of subtleness is there, all the time. John, what's your name? John Coffey, ma'am. Like the drink, just not spelled the same, ma'am. I can't do John Coffey. I'll let that one go. He's tough to do. I'm not. Was he? He's not actually that. The actress was actually not that big in real life, but the way they did it, they positioned him like he was like 7'2", then like 400 pounds. But he's not that big. Guy from Armageddon seemed like a good guy in real life. He was married to that Amorosa or whatever. She's what a nasty witch she is. But sorry. She was on The Celebrity Apprentice with that real monster, Piers Morgan. Sorry. I say was about that actor because he died not too long ago. So, guys, we have the brain in the middle, which is a receiving dish, a direct TV dish that allows your consciousness to engage in this plane of existence in the video game. It has to be believable or it wouldn't work. The sim character has to believe he's in the sim. It could be as simple as somebody or an aspect of you is there's like a controller, somebody sitting on a couch ordering a drink. The sim inside is completely convinced everything is real, of course. It has to be that way or nobody would take it seriously. You wouldn't get anything out of it. And the big debate it's the biggest debate of all time. But in the end, and what we need to do for ourselves, it doesn't matter. The reality box is up top, the brain is in the middle, the receiving dish. Probably life is supposed to be a balancing between the spiritual self and the Vitruvian Man material self and the lessons of the material plane, and something that probably ancient cultures, indigenous populations, pygmy tribes, and American Indians and Aborigines, something they likely knew or understood, that spiritual aspect, and how to bring that in way more than we do. But the screen is an evil element, of course, that's on purpose trying to cut ourselves off from spiritual self. The screen is reaching out. There's like a shield blocking the brain's ability to even understand there's that spiritual self on the left. So the biggest debate of all time is, the screen itself, which tries to get in front of the reality. And some people talk about reality overlays, and I don't understand any of that, but that's generally how it works. It tries to position itself between reality itself and you, to get you focusing on what it wants as important, to create the culture it wants to manifest, and it wants to quantumly create. So it does this, of course, through its minions, its politicians, its celebrities, it's the event horizon ship. It shows each real human what distraction interests it most. So it just feeds the Vitruvian Man, which feeds back the ego, and that everything on the right side here. Again, no, there's no. If I drew it this way, it has nothing to do with right or left. Maybe it does, but I didn't intend that. I don't understand that shit, nor do I want to. It's pretty simple how this works. You don't have to go and study with try to pledge Omega House with Kevin Bacon to thank you, sir, may I have another to get to be shown the truth. You just have to sit back and observe how, and it's as it's breaking down, it shows itself even more clearly. It's a joke. So there's no. I would again never do that. I would never like, oh Matt, why did he put it on the right? I don't know that shit. I never did. Thank you, sir. May I have another? I don't want to do that shit. Sorry, John Coffey, like the drink, ma'am, just not spelled the same. So it's all about feeding, at least on my diagram, the right side is churning. It goes into the screen. The attention goes into the screen. Where attention goes, energy flows. The screen feeds back the Vitruvian Man of that Jacob Marley chains are created. We probably get more and more physical over the plane gets more and more physical. That's what gravity is. Maybe the gravity was so light here. Gravity probably is like a meter that shows how successful the screen is in getting people to believe that everything is real. Soon they'll have us, you give birth and the baby will drop down on the floor like a lead weight and just stick there. Gravity becomes so heavy. I don't know. You just have to think big like that. You think big, this weird shit comes and goes. So I don't really think that's what gravity is, but I don't believe it's what Neil deGrasse Tyson tells me either. So it cuts off spiritual self. And the biggest, I don't even think I got to the most important point, the biggest debate of all time. The minions that position themselves, that try to get your attention, look at me. Are they completely evil, meaning they know exactly what they're doing they get a little bonus package every time they cut something off or someone off from spiritual self? Or are they simply serving themselves and are actually playing a part in the general greater reality where you need the asshole element, you need the jerks, you need the George Bushes of the world to be able to break through that blockage and say, wait, there's something. The first step in truth is something else going on here. When you first start, you chase all the first grade truth stuff, fake events on the news, fake everything, fake this, fake boobs, fake just everything's like this. Everything I look into isn't real. Like, you looking into something else again, Johnny? Are you surprised you found the same thing? It's not what's in Wikipedia ain't real? Yeah, how'd you know? That's what I found. Because that's what it does. It just does it over and over again. Do you get to the point where, like, well, why do I want to look into the next thing? It's going to be the same result. I had a gross analogy, but I'm not going to present it. So are the jerks and the minions, are they just serving themselves? And that's not the purpose, guys. That debate is where it would want you. That is a screen exercise. That's not getting you to understand your spiritual self. Getting to think, well, how much is George Bush in on it? Is he serving himself, or do these creeps really know their role here is to serve themselves, but also they're needed to, and that you can't ignore that side of it, because where would we be without submitting the 7-Eleven job application, without going through that, without what the creeps have laid down? We wouldn't be where we are, and nobody would go back listening to this. In terms of you wouldn't go back if you had to give up what you understand about your spiritual nature or what you understand about yourself. Nobody would go back. So by that rationale, the 7-Eleven job application, everything that they've done to us, since we wouldn't go back, then it's preferred. It's the preferred state. And even the C thing, oh my gosh, in terms of what we've learned over the last year, I wouldn't go back just so I can get into some. You down to the Electric Factory concerts in Philadelphia. You think you're going to see live, and there's some stand-in for Kowalczyk, and you go to see all these artists or these bands, and there's always that's the other script of realities to play out. One of them has to leave. Like Steve Perry has to leave Journey. It's just the way the reality script has to play out. I don't care if you research it and you found there is differences between it. There's these guys supposedly have the greatest life of all time. There's always the lead has to leave, or I'm sorry to stray, but you see these repeating themes over and over and over again, whether it be the lead singer leaving or a million examples we have at this point. I can't think of another appropriate one now. When the reality script comes out, that's just another thing where you say, whether this whole presentation isn't real. Forget what the news is telling me and that fakery. Thus, the whole presentation of reality itself isn't real with these repeating themes. I'll give you an example. I'll give you a personal example. And this has to do with a relative of mine, a very close relative, and somebody a very 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 close relative is dating, almost like married to. So this first relative for years has told me this story that they were pulled over once, and the cop was like a steroided cop and just came and screamed in the window at her, "Why didn't you pull over right away? I've been following you for so many you didn't." And the person's like, "I didn't see you back there. I didn't hear any siren." Screaming so much at my relative, my relative started crying, screaming in their face, "Why didn't you pull over when I first, put the lights on?" Whatever. Okay, so just recently, I'm at a luncheon with some family members, and the person starts telling this story about the only time they've ever been pulled over. This is like a family member's dating. And I just knew they were going to say the same thing. Don't ask me how. And she says, "Yeah, I was pulled over, first time ever in driving for 40 some years, and a person's older, and I just knew it was coming." And she said that this time it was a woman officer started screaming and yelling that I didn't pull over right away. And I know this is probably common, and police get upset at that, but it's like I kind of knew it was coming. And the only two stories I've ever heard like this is like the same exact story, 20 years apart, and it relates back to me. One of the few times I've been pulled over, my cousin got a DWI, and I had to drive him around Ocean City, New Jersey when I just got my license in high school. We were down Ocean City, New Jersey. My uncle had a house down there. And the police officer was very upset at me and said, "I've been behind you for blocks and blocks." And I don't see how that was possible because we didn't have the stereo. So it's like, so that related back to me. I'm like, recently when I heard it again, I'm like, this is like some sort of script repeating over. And how many times are you noticing this sort of thing? Whether I'm not just talking about being pulled over. I mean, there's these themes just keep flowing through. Somebody emailed me the other day about in every event that the news puts on that's fake, they have to say something like, "I thought it was a movie." Yes, that is, it's a reality script. And going back to the graphic here, as somebody, it might be a real human being, a real boy Pinocchio, but you might, the reality, the screen gets in your face so much, and you just identify for years and years and years and years and years with the Vitruvian man or woman, which feeds back the ego, which feeds that side. It's like that's where you lose yourself. Maybe we're all potentially born with equal standing, real boy Pinocchios, and many people around us just give so much of themselves away, they lose themselves and become like soul, give away the soul token idea. I know some smart people don't like when I say that, but they give themselves away and become a Pinocchio, become a piece of wood, devolve themselves down to an NPC. And what I think that means is they're susceptible to the download. There's some sort of download here that tells people how to behave, that tells people what to believe. And that tells, is there a difference between a degraded person and a complete NPC who's like, "Oh, when that event happened, they were at the 91 event that happened off the strip in the gambling city," and the person says, "Oh, we thought it was fireworks, or we thought it was." That's the other thing they run in those types of events when there's a bang. They say, "Oh, we thought it was party poppers, or we thought it was fireworks. Then we knew it was real. Then we knew it was real. My buddy." Sorry if you don't know that reference. I can't explain it to you now. So that runs that script. We thought it was party poppers. We thought it was firecrackers. And the other script is it was like a movie. It was like a movie set. They love the script and it's not somebody reading their lines. It's the download of some kind. The script takes over. Like when I said the script took over My father, when he heard I didn't go rent the movie, he was like, "Rock, squawk." He's like, download, download, download. Joe Biden says I'm really disappointed in you because Joe Biden and his team says the number is 80%. Matt, you're not contributing to herd immunity. Everybody's innocent here. Don't you know that? It was like, that was a terrible Andy. But he just ran a script. And I would, it would have been really condescending to point in my father's face and say, "You just ran a script," but I wouldn't do that. But he did. And that's what devolved people do. So people are like, this is more than a half page. But once you see it and understand it, if I were to just talk immediately to somebody that understands every aspect of this, then then it is a half page. It's simply your brain is a receiving dish. You're participating in some sort of video game in a reality that's very fluid and very illusory. The real part of you or an aspect of you is somewhere else, potentially related to higher self. So the experience has to come through the brain, the receiving dish, or nothing here would seem real. You're here to use this reality in the physical plane and use its tools and its lessons to feed and strengthen your spiritual self and level that up and learn certain things you can't learn other than this heavy place, which is very beautiful in one aspect and very horrible and harsh and disgusting and cruel on another aspect. There's some evil thing that feeds on itself called the screen that seems to be positioning itself between true reality and your brain, and it all it wants is to cut ties with spiritual self, completely cut that off from you through its distractions and its manipulations, and to get you to root and create your own Jacob Marley chains to feed the body, the avatar, the aspect of you that's here. It wants to feed 100% of your energy and your attention to that aspect of you, and not just cut ties with the spiritual self. It wants most people to believe that that doesn't even exist. Like, look what incredible job they've done with the atheist. That spiritual side, the immortal side, that doesn't even exist. The screen, the Jeff Goldblum with the flare will try to present to most people, and many millions and millions and millions of people believe that. So that's it. So it's like this whole stop paying attention to any aspect of the screen unless you know exactly what you are and you can navigate it and it's just a hobby. Some people become aware of the addictions. Many people are addicted to the Tupac army, the trans apocalypse army. Trying to hobo codes on the fly is very difficult. We want to make sure videos load. People believe that when they go out and see the first Wonder Woman movie and that the opening scenes of Diana training with all those other beautiful women, that they're all men. That's an addiction of some kind. That is not. Let's just say you're right about that. Let's just say those people are right about that. Matt, if you were ever with that beautiful Diana who played Wonder Woman, and I still don't know the actress's name, you'd find a little surprise if you ever got her to go up into your loft. You'd find a surprise. Well, let's just say you're right about any of that. The per the diagram we're looking at, it's the reality itself. Once you focused on that, that does nothing for what you're here to do for yourself. See, it has to show you. I don't. Maybe people said that little girl was an old soul. I don't know if she had some sort of Yoda wisdom. But even if she did or didn't, she probably didn't. Then see, the reality takes that video, although it's extremely cute and funny, but pushes it up to millions and millions and millions of views, because the reality says, oh, there's truth in this, and the reality itself has to show the truth. Why that? We don't know why that works the way it does. It's pointless to ponder. It could be in the initial contract of how this reality was laid down. We know 100%, not 99, that in some way the reality, the screen, the minions, through its movies, presentation of art, whatever nursery rhymes, it has to present the truth. We know that. Well, why? Who cares? See, it wants you trying to figure out why. That's a screen exercise, and you're horcruxing off your own spiritual self. So ultimately, that the metaphors of like the last three Harry Potters are about horcrux. I'm going to say Horcrux, whatever. And the principle of that is Voldemort. Can you say that in the Harry Potter realm? You can't say the name. I guess here you can say the name. Voldemort he split aspects of his soul. He was once a real boy Pinocchio, and he didn't devolve into wood like an NPC. He devolved in some demonic entity of some kind. But he put his soul into, like, I think it was 7 different objects. I don't remember how many objects. The significance of the number, it's not my thing. Who cares? Does that really matter anyway? The endless study of the gematria. Yes, we know the reality presents the endless gematria. That's one way it gives itself away as being fake. Okay, once I see what it does and the endless gematria is endlessly presented in an unnatural way, I don't need to keep looking at it. That's what it does. It's a giveaway that it's a fake fluid reality that's hijacked by a group of assholes. Okay, now I don't need to look anymore. I know what it is. I know its nature. Why do I want to keep studying it unless I want to use it to bet the Super Bowl or something, which I don't really care. I don't give a shit about things like that. So, what was I talking about? The Horcrux. So, in the Harry Potter, the last 3, Voldemort, he puts his soul into mostly physical objects, but he also puts it into a snake. What's that snake's name? Nagila. Stay close, Nagila. That's a terrible Voldemort, too. He puts it into Ravenclaw's lost item. Like, it's like a tiara, lady's crown or tiara or something. It's a gem. He puts it into a gem. He's putting the Voldemort, the lowest of the low creatures as represented, probably the complete metaphor of the devolution of man or woman from real boy Pinocchio, not just into wood, but into the lowest devolution. I don't care if that's a word or not. I like saying that. The lowest devolution it's showing you Voldemort. You can probably become Voldemort. And when you become Voldemort, the ultimate lowest level is splitting. You've actually not only cut ties with the spiritual self or the way out, you've put your soul, or Voldemort had in the last 3 movies, into the physical plane. You've completely attached to it and rooted to it. Is that what George Bush is? Maybe. I don't know. But we get a sense, there's a certain Minion class that seems more stuck here, if you will. And Matt, what are you basing that on? How many Eyes Wide Shut parties I had? None. Basing it on nothing other than sitting back and observing how they do business and why they do certain things, or coming to the conclusion that why they're doing certain things, there may be no other explanation. Why they run around and try to position themselves between you and your spiritual self. And, so it just seems like in observing that class, like Melvin P. of the Belinda and Melvin P. Gates Foundation, now defunct and divorced, how they have to do business. He is given this empire, or in some way helped and assisted in this empire, and billions of dollars come, but then they can't get out. There's like a contract, and now he's probably like, oh, why are you so upset, Bill? Or he's having coffee with at this point a 25-year-old Jeff Bezos. Why are you so back in the some sort of control center luncheon room where Jared's serving? Why are you so upset, Bill? This is supposed to be Jeff Bezos. I don't know what he sounds like. I don't want to know. Oh, it's the part of my life and career where I've got to now leave Microsoft, and I've got to push V. I've got to push. First, I got to do 10 years trying to push it in Africa. I've got to do this. I don't like this aspect of my life that contractually I have to go into now. Yeah, we all got to do it, Bill, don't we? See, it seems like that. They can't get out. No, he doesn't want to be running around. Although he's not anymore, you don't see him anymore, but his role for the first 6 months of this was to push V and to get millions of people irritated by him doing it. They don't want 100% on the V because they put out unlikable characters like Bill to push it. They know if Bill pushes it, there's going to be millions that reject it because he's pushing it. The Whopper computer is well aware of what his approval ratings are. They don't need to wait for the focus group, the people coming out of the Pizza Hut focus group or the Papa John's focus group, and say, "Can we talk to you about Melvin P? We need to get your feedback on this. Come over to our focus group." They know from everybody's tweet and Facebook posts and YouTube videos and comments. They know his likability is one step above a cicada and one step below a worm. They know it's there. So when they're not, if they wanted 100% uptake on the V, or they would stop as soon as they would say people aren't liking this front man. Let's get rid of him. I don't know. Let's have Ellen take over the baton of pushing how wonderful the V is. They would have do it like that. They don't. I don't know why they wanted 20% or so not to do it, but that's part of the deal. If somebody, I was wrong. I can. One of the things that's different about this channel is I correct my mistakes. If somebody's still saying they want 100% of people to take the V, that's not right. They've done too many things on purpose to get millions and millions skeptical, but that's not the purpose of this video. Voldemort, he again Horcruxed. He actually put it's a figment or a representation of the lowest of the low. You can actually you root to the reality so much and cut off so many spiritual ties. You've actually fragmented your soul and placed it into different aspects of the material plane. Are you kidding me? And nothing could release it or kill it except that sword of Gryffindor, whatever that represented. But that's the reality. That is the screen. It seems like that's ultimately what it would want from most people, to continue to cycle that, the people's brain and their interface in this reality comes through the brain. That probably an aspect of them is somewhere else, or an aspect of them is outside this higher self. And if I hear somebody screaming out in the night, saying, "Well, isn't then a spiritual aspect of you, or that aspect or higher self that's not part of the snow globe, that's somewhere else, that communicates with the video game through the brain?" Well, it can't get to that aspect. You're not completely cutting off spiritual self. That's a good point. That's a good point. The revision on that could be, I'm like talking to somebody that talked to me invisibly from a bathtub that really didn't. Sorry, and I'm responding to that person saying it's a good point. That's a form of psychosis. It's a good point, person in your bathtub, because it's only the spiritual aspect that's here. Okay, that again, I don't know. Maybe the consequences are bigger than that. The spiritual aspect that's here, you take with you into the snow globe. Like the movie Soul, they 22 and Joe floated down. They're just the soul floated down to the material plane, but in really, you take the lunchbox too. You carry your lunch, and that's your spiritual. You take a little aspect of your spiritual self with you, and that seems like that's maybe the piece. There's maybe a small part of the spiritual side, or that's what the minions want. That's what they want you to leave here, or that's what they want to take from you. Can it, if anybody, I don't know the answers to this. I'm just pondering this for the first time. If they can definitely have you cut off spiritual ties to the piece you take in here, but is there ramifications for the piece that's still outside of here? I don't believe, based on nothing but my own intuition and listening to a few smart people talk, that then resonates back with my own inner knowing that I don't believe all of what we are is in here. I really don't. Whatever that means. Like, an aspect, consciousness comes from somewhere else, or I don't believe we would go all or none in a game like this, that the consequence is potentially very, very high. But I don't know, I'm not educated enough on this topic to discuss it intelligently. And when I discuss it, we'll just float a lot of different ideas to think big and see what resonates with you and me and our inner knowing. It doesn't mean we can't talk about it. Sometimes talking it through, you get certain intuitions. So if you just put your hand, remember, was it Paul Atreides in Dune? He put his hand in the witch's box or whatever, and she created pain. That's probably an allegory for this material, the whole plane of existence of Earth. He put his hand in the witch's box, and he thought his skin was melting. He couldn't see his hand. Obviously the witch was playing a trick. She said if he pulled his hand out early, she would kill him. And in the movie Dune, he knew his mother was a witch. I think he got a sense, although it didn't say in the movie, that this pain he was feeling with his skin peeling off in the box, although it felt 100% real, he must have known that it had to be an illusion. He's dealing with the head mother witch, so he wants to pull his hand out. If he pulls his hand out early, she kills him. So of course, obviously the movie doesn't end 15 minutes in or whatever. He pulls his hand out at the end. He looks and it's intact. It's fine. And there's a huge, I don't know what it is. It just kind of hit me. There's a huge metaphor there for how reality itself works. He's just putting a piece of himself into the box. The cube is this reality, and it's hardcore shit. His skin's melting off. It's a tough existence here for a lot of people, right, Josh? We all have our hardships, some more than others. But, this skin is Paul Atreides' skin's peeling off. Is that this existence? Some people's hand in the box are worse than others. And, he's put a piece of himself in, and he has to get through it. He has to get through it. If he pulls out too early, is that suicide? If he pulls out too early, she kills him. So no matter how painful it gets, you got to get through it until what did they call with the head mother or something? I forget what they called her, until she says, okay, pull your hand out and look at your hand. And it was fine. It's like potentially whatever trials and shit you're going through in this earth, and people go through a lot of stuff. You die. That's what that was? And look at yourself. You're fine. It was a dream. It was an illusion. And the minions ran around trying to get you not only to believe it was so real, they actually asked you to leave real pieces of your spiritual self there, and you almost did. You jerk, you almost did. And we were going to kick ourselves. Most people will kick themselves. Go, oh my God, is that what that was? I was such an idiot. But once you can see it, guys like you and me, and can observe how the clown show reality, to keep participating in it with spiritual self is a joke. So it's the Event Horizon. It shows, and it's played the Event Horizon game with truthers more than any other group, showing them what fascinates them the most. I spent 4 years breaking down as like an RV disciple, breaking down the fake events presented on the news. And that was part of I was luckily able to leave that farm. But I wouldn't take it back. It's part of my progression. At some point, the first step in me getting out of that was a discussion about, I think it was the Legolas event. Legolas was the character in Lord of the Rings. Orlando Bloom is the actor. Orlando Bloom is the act. We were discussing that, and how many bloodied people would have had to gone down Orange Street and made it to that hospital. And I said, well, what happens? It became a reality breakdown to me. Well, what happens in these mega events when nobody comes in? And then somebody tries to step up and says, Matt, you don't understand. They're paid and threatened. And they'll run that script over. The truthers will run that script. You don't realize how powerful it is, Matt. Everybody's paid and threatened. No, that can't happen over and over again, like decade after decade, and work 100% of the time successfully, and nothing ever breaks or leaks. It's a reality breakdown in of itself. And then I kind of stepped out of that farm and said, there's shit going on here that's not real. I don't play this. I'm not playing this anymore. And I will return to the screen a lot. If you've graduated this high school, then graduate. You're like radio. Keep coming back into the junior year. If you've graduated, radio, go on to bigger and better things. Be a towel boy at the University of Alabama. Don't leave the high school behind. I don't think this type of presentation's high school level, but even I don't think there's much beyond this. It's a half a page. It's all you need to know is this graphic, in my opinion. Could there be certain things to navigate or tricks at death that is a higher level stuff we should look into? Yeah, we should be aware of that. But if you look into that, don't expect tricks at death. It could potentially manifest it. If you believe hardcore tricks at death, then you'll probably bring that upon yourself. I believe that is the one proviso if you're going to go into that area of research after kind of understanding this area of research, kind of like what is going on in this reality. which to me is pretty simple at this point once you see the nature of the trick. Someone asked me recently, and I really need to address this. Matt, you keep saying, the world isn't very real. Like, what does that mean to you now? And I say it so much. Fluid reality, the world isn't very real. I do need to address at least what that means to me now. He goes, Matt, you say it all the time. World isn't very real. World isn't very real. We'll talk about that. It's like Man on Fire, Denzel Washington. He's like, what does he say to the president of La Hermandad? He says, I'm tired of hearing that all the time. Like, people saying, I'm just a professional. Just a professional. I'm just a professional. I'm just a professional. I'm tired of hearing that as the excuse. Come on, sir. grant me one wish. I wish you had more time. That's a truth drop right there. Nobody in this community wishes they had more time. The whole, you see how the movies and the reality, it's always about trying to gain immortality, and I wish you had more time. Many people at higher levels here in this community are like, I wish I had less time. Or, Magellan or Cortez or one of these clowns, like, I found the fountain of youth. Y'all want to jump in? If it's in a pool somewhere in the Puerto Rico rainforest, the fountain of youth. And we'd be like, no, I don't want to jump in there. I wouldn't jump in there for all the coffee beans in Colombia. I wouldn't jump in the fountain of youth. You come out, I'm like, oh my God, I'm 16 again. I got to go through this shit all over again. But now the year's 2021, and just right around the corner, somebody's going to start to try to put a chip in my arm to get any sort of hold down a decent job. I'm going to have a chip put under the skin. I wouldn't want to go fountain of youth. No, thank you. Was that Rose, who also, the little girl, says, worry about yourself. She says, Rose, can I help you with that? No, thank you. Fountain of youth? No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want to. Well, then go jump off a bridge, Matt, and end it. No, I don't. Suicide. There could be consequences to that, and no, I don't. We don't do that either. We're here for a reason, and I would say everybody listening to this, including myself, have not done everything we need to do. We have, or we have other things to understand about ourselves. One of the Braveheart poster. What the heck is going on? These landscapers out so loud. I know you can't hear that, but it is distracting to me. Sorry. The Braveheart movie poster. Truth drops everywhere like this. A movie like Braveheart, it says, the main movie poster says, every man dies, not every man truly lives. Now, when that poster came out, say in 94, 95, very discriminatory to not say, to include the other woman. It should say, it would ruin the movie poster, but it really should say, so it's not hurtful. Every man, woman, Z, or peer dies. Not every man, woman, Z, or peer truly lives. So one of the main takeaways, and some very smart people, I think, believe in this, is you have to truly live. If you go into, the death, and there's something that you didn't get done, there's enough smart people that is a gigantic attachment or Jacob Marley chain that could draw you back into samsara. And it doesn't mean, you have to take to the battlefield at Sterling like Braveheart and whatever. Every man truly lives. And Matt, how do you truly live? You just sit in that dungeon ears and do these videos, and you don't go, you don't talk to anybody, you don't go out and do anything. I have to improve on that. I have to come to a grips of, is on my deathbed. Not that I'll receive total consciousness, gunga la gunga, like that's another truth drop in Caddyshack. We'll talk about that. You have to get to the point. Even if I just sit in this dungeon and make videos and try to help my own understanding and help people navigate this mess, is that truly living? I need to come to grips with that. Sometimes go out into the light, get a little vitamin D. But the truth drops in the movies. I haven't thought about it for a long time, but you probably could think of it in what we're talking about here. Bill Murray. What does he say he's talking to another caddy, and he's talking about how he caddied for the Dalai Lama. He caddied in the Tibetan mountain. He caddied in the Tibetan mountains for the Dalai Lama, and he's going to get stiffed. He says, "Hey, I can't do the, hey, Dalai, hey, how about a little something for the effort?" He says, "There'll be no money, but upon your deathbed, you'll receive total consciousness." So I got that going for me, which is nice. No, see, it's not nice. So Carl believes he has that going for him on his deathbed. He'll receive total consciousness, which is nice. No, that's not nice. He just signed up for his next cycle of samsara, and he's a greenskeeper in this life, but the next life he could be a slave to a greenskeeper. Like really, so that's not good. He's going to receive. The Dalai Lama just sent him through the worst parts of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and he will through after his bardos, he'll come out with total consciousness, and people watching the movie crunching their popcorn was like, wow, that would be great if that was really true and Carl had that. And you don't want that. Total consciousness, he meant in this reality, in this life, and it ain't nice. So sorry, I'm finally going to address what it means to me when I say the world isn't very real. It means to me, in implying that to yourself or myself, it's about a sliding scale. There's no way to really define it, but the best way to talk about it is a sliding scale. So you have a slider, 0 here and all the way up to the right is a 10. And most people, the reality trick and the screen and the minions and Neil deGrasse Tyson running around, people will be convinced that, everything is completely real. A rock is heavy, everything is physical and hard, and they don't understand things like what happens at the very small, at the quantum, how everything breaks down, or the double slit experiment, or the observer affects reality. I'm sorry to those that are triggered by the double slit experiment. I don't know why 10% of the truth community is so triggered by the double slit experiment. No matter how you slice it, the reality does break down when you get into the very small. Even by definition, something can't comprise itself. So whether you like the double slit or not, it all breaks down at the very large and the very small. But so you have this slider. People, your guy down the cul-de-sac around Ginny, they're like at a 10 out of 10. Supernovas really blow up, and the cosmos is what Carl Sagan says, and it's what the screen presents as reality. They believe is completely real, and the main definition of that is they believe it's as presented by the authorities of the reality, like Carl Sagan and Neil deGrasse Tyson and whoever. The Anderson Cooper talks about a bang event. Well, that really happened, just like they say. That's a 10 out of 10 on your slider. The point with me saying the world isn't very real is as you investigate truth and research topics, and you look into one after the other, and you say, "Mom, I just spent 2 months looking into the Titanic." And mom is a wise old woman. She says, "And let me guess what you found. It ain't what Wikipedia says." "Yeah, how'd you know?" "Exactly. That's what just happened again." "Again?" "Yeah. With us? Again?" "Yeah." It breaks down again, and then you go, wait a second here. This can't keep happening over and over again. I'm going to take the slider. I was a 10 out of 10 on how real everything. I'm just going to put it down to 9, notch it down. And then as you do the truth thing over and over again, you keep notching. Now, what's on the left side? I don't know, the end of the 13th Floor movie, The Matrix, complete code, a realization that this is some sort of illusory sim game that your consciousness is in the middle of, Mandela effects, fluid environment. That's maybe what's down the other end. Everybody's going to be at a different spot. But when I say the world isn't very real, that just means that can be even just one rung down. It's just to get people to see that the sliding scale exists. That it's not, some people in their truth journey might have the push pin, the tail on the donkey at 9 or 8 or 7. But one of the main points here is as you do this long enough, you slide down towards the side. In this side, it's the left side. There's no significance to that. I don't understand pillars or Joaquin and Boaz. I don't understand it. I don't want to understand it. When I say that stuff, I'm not putting any freaking symbolism out. I don't go there. So, but you slide down towards the left. I just had a mental image of a sliding scale with a pin on the donkey push pin. Everybody, as they do this over time, goes down towards it ain't very real. You never go back. Nobody got down to level 2 or 1 or 4 and say this isn't very real. All these coincidences and synchronicities and freaking gematria showing up everywhere. If you want to hold on to the world is very real, then you come forth with first grade explanations. Oh, they planted all the gematria. All the secret societies planted the license plates, and every single 33 they code everywhere. Somebody got a phone call. Yep. Oh, it's not this guy again from the lodge telling me to put. Let me guess. They're telling me to put a 33 in again. Yeah. You want to take the call? No. I know what he wants. It ain't that. Reality itself does it. So once you get down to it's not very real, I don't think anybody would slide back up. Like Matt, I was down at level 3 and 4, and that the world was very fluid, Mandela affected, not very real. Even if you're not Mandela affected, if all the synchronicities, all the ridiculous things that are pulled off over and over again without any consequence, the fact that people around you seem to be taking a download, it's not very real. Once you get down in that range, nobody's ever said, well, Matt, after spending 6 months there, now I've changed my opinion and I've pushed my push pin back to 9. I think the world is very real. I went back the other way. Nobody goes back the other way. Not nobody, but it's like once you see truth. Nobody sees truth, and the Titanic of what's presented is 3 or 4 levels of deception, and even the first level, truth deception, isn't the real deception, and that's all. No real world could pull that off. It's a fluid reality. Present retrocausality language and spiritual messages presented in songs of which the artist wasn't even aware. Come on, who could do that? Yes, something much, much greater than ourselves. The world isn't very real. So nobody goes back. Nobody investigates truth and says, you know what? I've seen a bunch of the stuff that you see, Matt, but you know what? I don't buy it anymore. I'm now back to believing that what Anderson Cooper says every night on 360 is real. You went back to that? With us? You went back to that? Nobody goes back. It's like once you make certain lifestyle choices, nobody goes back once you've been there. Nobody goes back. So it's the same way. Once you see it start to break down, it's not going to, Truman. It's the same thing with Truman Show. Once he sees the cardboard's crumbling off the sky and the big light called Sirius A, it dropped in front of him and it was just a light, and a big speaker comes booming through from Ed Harris. Once he sees that, he's not going to wake up the next day and be like, this is a real world. No, he's already seen it. He can't unsee it. It's like watching Ghost Rider or with Nick Cage or one of his really horrible acting jobs. Once you see a certain Nick Cage performance, you can't unsee it. And it ruins Moonstruck. It ruins the decent movies that you might like Raising Arizona. It just ruins it. But don't ever watch. It's the same with Matt Damon. If you really like him in certain things, don't ever watch The Great Wall. Don't ever watch The Martian because it'll ruin it. Sorry. So, guys, I guess I'll wrap it up here just with a summary. To me, it's simple. It's the Event Horizon ship, though. We should do the Event Horizon section because that is really important in understanding how it does business. The arrow coming out of the screen that positions its big fat Jabba the Hutt self between reality and some people so I hear somebody crying out in the bathtub saying, well, Matt, are you saying it's been hijacked? And this is where that's what it wants you to spend 30 years trying to figure out. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether the reality was here, so it was a true balance between understanding and fostering spiritual self, leveling up spiritual self, using the tools here to increase the spiritual side. In this case, the left side. It has nothing to do with the left and right. Whether it positioned itself unnaturally, hijacked, it doesn't matter. Because first off, it is what it is. Whatever's out your window is there. It doesn't matter. It wants you focusing out of yourself to understand it. The answers are inside yourself. Anything that draws you outside of yourself is exactly what it wants, even if it thinks you're getting to truth. This is why Alex Jones and Glenn Beck and all these there's so many high-level farms that are in the truth community. I mean, if you want to spend your life figuring out if we live in a crater, that's not finding spiritual self. Okay? And I could do a 24-hour green eggs and ham filibuster with a Texas catheter, all the damn truth channels that just distract. Distract. And then, yeah, I'll do a screen exercise because you have to go through the bog. The other channels that do the distraction and the screen exercise, they're not telling you that this is a screen exercise and then get out of the bog as soon as possible and connect with your spiritual self. They're not saying that, or at least it's very rare when they do. Now, last thing. I've said that before, right? Last thing. One last thing. The arrow going from the screen that positions its fat self between reality and you, whether it was hijacked or whatever, they've evolved their role into they broke their contract. It doesn't matter because you can still learn from it and benefit from it. That's a rule of this reality that can never be taken away. You will always be able to learn and benefit from whatever shit it throws at you. That is your divine right. So take it. They can never take that. Screen has an arrow out to the Vitruvian Man, and it says Event Horizon in the arrow. Now, when it gets you, it needs people to focus on the screen so it can filter your attention. Where attention goes, energy flows back into itself, back into creating the 3D world, the sick culture and society that it wants. Real people quantumly help create the sick culture and society that it wants. Feeds on itself, loosh, harvesting energy. It puts you in a negative state of emotion. The reality itself is always putting you into fear, worry, anxiety, stress. The screen minions probably feed on that. It strengthens itself kind of in a loop. And it says Event Horizon because the main principle of that movie is they get on that demonic ship. It's Lawrence Fishburne, and he's in all these movies that reveal tremendous truth, other than Biker Boys. I'm still looking for the truth drop, the major metaphysical truth drop in Biker Boys. Haven't quite found it yet. Maybe it's with the Kid Rock scene. I haven't found it yet. But there's a ton in reality truth drops in Lawrence Fishburne movies for that's his role for some reason. But on Event Horizon, the demonic ship that has passed through some sort of wormhole or unit harnesses a singularity to fold time-space to jump immediately to Proxima Centauri. The ship went through hell, and it brought back hell. And Captain Miller, Lawrence Fishburne says, the ship shows you your worst fear. And the ship customizes the worst fear for each crew member. So, talked about Captain Miller's fire experience many times. The doctor... she sees she cares mostly in this world about her son. Her son is all messed up, all these sores and welts all over his legs, and that freaks her out. It knows Captain Miller gets in. He says it gets in your head. It gets in your head. It knows your worst fear. Well, the screen, it might not know exactly, but it has put out every single flavor of distraction that it possibly can. And in the last 20 years, it's gone on steroids times a million. Forget Baskin Robbins. They don't know what they're doing. 31 flavors. The screen can put out 31 million flavors and can add a flavor every day. Just when you think, a man is a man and a woman is a woman. And, there's certain fundamental things about life that could never be changed by the screen. And then 20 years go by and that's all broken down. And he's like, how did it do that? The fundamental nature of a man is a man and a woman is a woman. It's even removed that from a footing or a foothold or a cornerstone of what reality is. It's broken everything down. It's 31 million flavors of distraction. And it does what it does for truthers is it's a master at truther distraction. It's probably 31,000 flavors inside the truth community. And how do I know it's a flavor? It's a flavor if it's getting you outside yourself. It's pretty simple. My favorite is spending 10 years trying to examine what happened to the outside of the Pentagon. It doesn't matter whether you figure it out or not. whether you become an expert on Project Bluebeam and how they did that, it doesn't matter how it was done. Once you just see the nature of not the nature of the 7-Eleven job application trick, once you see the nature of the reality trick in general, it's like what happened. It was the Champlain Apartments. Should I spend hours and hours figuring out the relative significance of why they use Champlain, and I'll investigate the history of that related to what they just did. It's irrelevant. Once you know how it does business, and now you just have to look at it for 5 minutes, because it is possible that there'll be a wildfire again in the world. It is possible somebody in North Philly might really shoot somebody. Real things like that happen. There have been buildings that have collapsed. Things have happened, but so it's not all fake. Let's look at it within 5 seconds. I said 5 minutes of looking at it. Within 5 seconds, it usually gives itself away. Even the way the news anchor is making the first 30 seconds of the presentation, you can tell. You can tell from that. It presents 31,000 flavors inside the truth community to get you to think, how does this work? Remember the who, what, when, where, why, and how, guys. If you are in a truth channel or truth community looking at one of the elements, who, what, when, where, why, or how, and the video is about the deception, the cabal, the evildoers, the Anunnaki, whatever, if it's about how do they screw you, what do they screw you with, when do they screw you, who, what, when, where, why, and how, it's all pointless if it's outside yourself. If it's outside yourself, with one exception, the why, and only when the why tells you about yourself. So it's like, why did they choose a name like double H, handy hand job? Why did they, for the Pentagon, why did they choose a double H name? What's the significance of that? That's like the Hillary logo. That's all outside yourself. It's all irrelevant. Why did they want 2 billion people on that day focused on this event? Why would they go through something so massive? Why? That tells me something about myself. Why did they go through all that to get 2 billion people that day focusing, like the Barely Human channel said, an exercise of mass consciousness, an unprecedented exercise of focused mass consciousness. In Back to the Future video predicted 7-Eleven job application from the Barely Human channel. That video we talked about in the Old Fashioned Radio Show. Why? Well, for them to want to do that, why did they do it? It tells me about the reality creation nature of the collective consciousness, at least of real real spirited beings, actually influence reality and or retrocausality. It tells you about yourself. That why investigation is okay, in my opinion. And why did they do this? It wants me to act this way, which tells me to do the opposite and tells me about myself. That's very valid. But I don't think too many truth videos. I've seen a few in my day, one or two. They don't close the video with, we just did a screen exercise and showed you how the fraud is coming from government. Let me show you what that's trying to do to you and then how you can learn about yourself. I don't do that in every video. It would get repetitive, but you've heard that here before, right? It's all that matters. It's all that matters. And most truth channels would go out of business. They would go, they would lose their, they'd have nothing to do if you keep going back to that message. It leaves them with nothing, leaves them just with their hand down their pants. There's nothing to look at. So once you come to the half-page conclusion, I think most people here have arrived and believe it's as simple as a half page, but there's still a lot of other things to talk about along the same lines, like the old debate where the people get on me and they believe they're an aspect of the immortal of God, an aspect of something so powerful outside the snow globe that no matter what choice they make here, there are no consequences at all. And some of the people that email me, it seems like they're trying to convince themselves why they email me. And I'm not just, I talk to a lot of people about this. If you think it's just you, I'm talking, no, I've had this conversation on off with a lot of different people. It's not, The one person I believe will think I'm talking to him. I am talking to you, but there's others. Trust me, there's others. Again, your points are very valid, but as I've observed this system, this screen, I've observed how it does business, what it wants me to do to myself, to do myself. You have to screw yourself here for the most part in this reality. Why is it going to such lengths to get me to constantly do the Vitruvian Man cycle here? Screen leads back to the Vitruvian Man, cycles on itself, makes the world more real. Gravity becomes more significant, more heavy. I take more pride in the accolades and awards of this life. I define what I consider a success based on what this world tells me. I create my own Jacob Marley chains. It's just the cycle keeps going around and around on this side, but completely ignoring and cutting myself off from spiritual self, and hopefully not horcruxing my spiritual nature here to this place through attachment. I observe how it works really, 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 really hard. It works really, really hard to get my attention, so I go through this. And I don't believe it's just because that's how they have to exist. They don't want to not exist, Matt. They're serving a role here. Why does it work so hard? I'm going to do it again. I can't. It's one of my favorite things of all time. But you'll remember it. When this channel's long gone, you'll remember it. Why does it work so hard getting in your business all the time, getting up in your face? If it could be a body and a head that comes up through your t-shirt right in front of you, gets in your face all the time. What's the point of all that if there's no consequences to the choices you're making? That there is no, whether that be karma or attach. Why does it want me to attach to everything in this world? The metaphors and the analogies through movies of Jacob Marley chains. These are the chains you forged in life through choices. What's it doing all that for? If Matt, that's just part of that's just part of the learning experience. It needs you to believe that there's all these consequences, so you actually have a spiritual journey here. But you'll see once you die, you're so all powerful. Maybe that is the case, but I'm not going to take a chance. I'm not going to err on that side just so I can go to an NFL game or go back to the red light district in Amsterdam, which I've been to. I've said before, I didn't partake in it. My buddies and I went out there in '96 to Amsterdam, and I partook in the brownies. I didn't partake. I might have mentioned in other videos. There was one guy that he went so many times into that red light district, he had to borrow money from all of us to be able to get back home. I didn't. They knew I wouldn't do it, so they actually said, "I'll pay for anything you want to do." No way. It just was not for me. I'm too straight for that shit. But why does it want me to constantly to partake and constantly make choices, and it gets in my business all the time if there's no consequence? I'm going to err on the side of playing it safe, like I did at the red light district. I'm going to err on the side of and it's not like I want to be somebody else and make other choices anyway. Even if you could come to me right now, and if somebody could convince me, Matt, you go get the V, go whatever. There's no the lessons learned here. You have to believe you can give yourself away and reverse Pinocchio yourself. You wouldn't learn anything if you didn't think there were consequences. It's all part of the reality ruse here. Even if somebody could convince me of that, I would say, well, that's a good presentation. What are you going to do differently now, Matt? Nothing. Nothing. I'm not going to go steal purses from little old ladies oh, wow. There's no consequence, ramifications for wrong choices, decisions. There's no way I can Horcrux a piece of myself here. Oh, now I'm convinced of that. What are you going to do now? You just won the Super Bowl. Go to Disney World. I'm just going to go steal purses from little old ladies on rollerblades. I wouldn't change anything anyway. I'm still in my dungeon here making these videos. That's that. How many minutes have I gone here? Oh boy. Guys, it is once you understand it, it is a half page. On the bottom right, it says under the Vitruvian Man, that side, that it wants to create more strength in these concepts, more weight, more real, more heavy to Earth, this plane of existence, the 3D world, the body, the avatar. Having everybody so concerned about their weight and their ripped abs. There's a new device called the ab squat. There was an hour long infomercial called the ab squat, and it actually looks sound for older people. In terms of the squatting down and getting up is one of the greatest exercises that is so much better of an exercise. And there is important to taking care of the body to a degree and all that, but this reality goes too far. It says ripped abs. It's the ultimate presentation of it. Is that is it Derek's his name was Derek, I guess. It was in Step Brothers. His name was Derek. There's some funny scenes in Step Brothers. If it's real juvenile, it is real first grade, but slapstick. But Derek is such an asshole. He pulls up his shirt. He's like, "Look at these." he's so an egomaniac. He's into himself, his body, his how much money he makes. This guy Derek in Step Brothers. It's like a truth drop. I don't know if it was meant to be intentional, but it is exactly what we're talking about here. He defines himself by his job, his career, how much money he makes, pulling up his shirt. Look at these six pack. Look at these babies. He's like, you want to touch these, I was like, you want to punch me, but you won't. But he's like, you want to touch these. Look, I haven't had a carb in 5 years. And it's all, obviously it's somebody else's abs. But that is is that one step, Derek, one step before you literally start being a Voldemort and start actually Horcruxing pieces of your spiritual self here. Maybe. But too much emphasis on the body, on the avatar, what I wrote here, money, status, ego, your definition of success. And this is what the ego is necessary here, but to my opinion, have to gain control of it. It's necessary, of course. These truth channels about completely destroy all ego. It's a part of. Can you destroy your arm, or I guess you could cut it off. But they asked that in. I'm getting giddy and goofy now. Sorry, guys. It was what's that movie? I guess it's with Tom Cruise and he Jack Reacher, Jack Reacher. Jack Reacher. The guy that is a Russian mobster that is a real dark, ridiculous character. He's like, you can continue to work for me. You can continue to work for me if you can chew off your own hand. He asked one of his men to chew off his own hand as loyalty. Who's going to be able to chew off their own hand while they're under a bridge making a package exchange? He's like, well, yeah, I screwed up, but you want me to chew off my own hand? So why am I even talking about that? So I'll get back. Ego is necessary. I guess you could chop off your own arm. You could chew off your own hand. You can't get rid of it. You can put it in check. You can understand. It's here as a survival mechanism of this realm. It's here so the screen and the minions can take it over and redefine its definition of success. It's put it in check. Understand it. It's okay. You have to have a symbiotic relationship with ego, with the body. We're here. Okay, we have to make the best of it. We're here. These monks, or you see these, even the three monks in the next Karate Kid with the girl. What's her name? She was in what's that movie with Clint Eastwood? $1 Million Baby or whatever. Natalie Hilary Swank or Skank or whatever her name is. That's my favorite Karate Kid by far. The one with Hilary Swank over that little Ralph Macchio. But they go see the monks, and the monks they're by themselves chanting and cutting off. I don't think you have to go that far. You don't have to be a monk just chanting in a cardboard box. Just understand what the reality's here, what it wants to get you to do to yourself, how it wants to screw you over, and just put everything in check and start walking the right path. Thanks for listening, guys. Free voice, hopefully in the next video.